خليك نفتعضو هذا هايس كتوريني هاقا بسوحو عدو هيبتي وشرف ربي بكسيو وحدو تهليكا عدو هيبتي وشرف ربي بكسيو وحدو تهليكا وديغان حلوسانو إلينكي وحنائيو كحباب الدوغي محاهل شفايتي وديغان حلوسانو إلينكي وحنائيو كحباب الدوغي محاهل شفايتي خليك نفتعضو هذا هايس كتوريني هاقا بسوحو خليك نفتعضو هذا هايس كتوريني هاقا بسوحو
هيبت كار إيو هيبت بكوسيا حول الله نخرع موسيقى حكمة إيو codka halaasiga ah horudhac wuxuu u yahay heestan macaan ee halkudhigeedu yahay maxaa helay jacaylka waa ereyadii laxankii iyo codkii maxamed xasan xuseen lafole muusiga iyo farsamadii artan agacade waa anigoo ah alxikaaya oo idin leh dhegaysi wacan
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ما بعد لقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان صدق الله العظيم وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليكرم ضيفه من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليكرم ضيفه صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الحمد لله وليال first of all I say you are welcome. The delegation coming from Kenya, from Nairobi, and welcome to Minnesota. and especially this place, and you are now from Africa to Africa, because this is a called African Diplomacy Center. Inta ka bacdi waxaan ku hadlayaa luqada Soomaalida marka ugu horeysa aayadihii Quraankeena akhriyay iyo xadiiskii Nabiga calayhi salaatu wasalaam Allah inagu anfaco mar labaadna bili aadankeena Ilaahay kulmiyay kulankeena mid khayr qaba Allah ka dhigo way bili aadanku meel u joogay meel isugu yimaadaba waa walaalo weey walaqad karramna bani aadama وحملناهم في البر والبحر ورزقناهم من الطيبات وفضلناهم على كثير مما خلقنا تفضيلا إلها مركا بالآذن كالسميي أبوري وحكر أورنا كفضلي إلها سي أيين آمن سنهي وإنه لنا الحمد لله إلهي سكو كان إنتا كبعدي أنا كو هادلية مقع تذكر بالآذن كيكون نول من الصوتة gaar ahaan African community dadka Afrikaanka ee Minnesota ku nool ayaa waxa farxadii ah anigu intaas oo dhan magacooda ku hadlaya inaan idinku soo dhaweeyo Minnesota waftiga ballaaran ee baaxadda leh ee uu hogaaminayo ee wasiirkeena Maxamed Cilmi iyo odageena ugu weyn Xaaji Ibrahim ama Ustaad Ibrahim Father of Education iyo inta kaleba ayaan waxaan leenahay qalbi furan iyo niyad wanaagsan oo farxad leh ugu soo dhawaada Minnesota. You are welcome. waxa kale oo idinku soo dhaweynaynaa meeshan cajiibka ah xaruntan weyn oo gudaheedu weyn yahay oo aqoonteedu weyn yahay oo waxtarkeedu weyn yahay oo hogaaminteedu weyn yahay oo raggii ay dhisay joogaan Xuseen Samatar African Diplomacy Center oo han joogna hadda oo idinku uri Afrikaad ka timaadeen Afrikana waa timaadeen ayaan magaciisa anoo ku soo dhaweynaya aan leenahay welcome xaruntan ku soo dhawaada inta ka bacdi waxaan u mahad celinayaa maxaan ku yiraahdaa wafdigiina ballaaran oo muddo dheer raggii ka shaqeynayay si loogu soo dhaweyn lahaa Minnesota raggii ka shaqeynayay oo siyaad iyo cadaan ka magacaabi karo iyo rag kale oo fara badan iyaguna aad bay u mahadsan yihiin inta ka bacdi bil aadanka Ilaahay baa abuuray Ilaahay baa ku abuuray adduunyadan iyaga oo leh luqad kala gedisan different color different culture different language iyagoo inta leh iyo different faith iyo iimaan kala duwan ayaa haddana Ilaahay yiri kulligiinba walaalaad tihiin ee wax istara oo wax isasiya oo wax isku qabta oo isbooqda oo maxaan ku raay iska farxiya intaana waxa xambaarsan in dadku nabadgelyo ku wada noolaadaan peace salaam nabadgelyo lagu wada noolaado peace make peace in yourself in your family in your neighbor in your city in your state in your nationwide you make peace that is a very important and responsibility for everybody inta ka bacdi anigoo mar labaad aad u faraxsan oo magaca salaamka idinku soo dhaweynaya waxaan ku soo dhaweynayaa oo mudan inaan ku soo dhaweeyo halkan walaalkeen maxaan ku yiraahdaa madaxdeena sare Xuseen Samatar oo maxaan ku yiraahdaa Chief Director African Diplomacy Center xaruntan joogna madax ka founder kiina ragii aasaasayna welcome Xuseen assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh
assalamu alaykum wa rahma that was not loud enough assalamu alaykum wa rahma alaykum assalam habeen wanaagsan I am truly thrilled to welcome you to the African Development Center of Minnesota. I will tell you a little bit about the organization, but I will also want to tell you tonight we are here for the Northern Kenya Education Trust. That's why we're here tonight. And without the work of Siad Abdullahi, this would not have been possible. I just wanted to give that credit to Siad for doing it. We are really, truly thrilled. And the reason we're supporting this education effort is very simple. I am from proper Somalia, small city called Kismayo, which is not very far from the border of Kenya. But I left the country when it went to war. And I never worked in Somalia one single day. But what I do understand is, and especially some of you know that southern part of Somalia was Italian colony. So when I came over in 1993, surviving the Civil War, I wasn't speaking the English language, but I was fluent in Italian. So what I do know, though, is that if you give a child an education, he or she will make it. It will make it in Kenya, it will make it in Tanzania, it will make it in Minneapolis. So, and this is the reason that we have decided to support SIAD, to support the delegation, to support the community from Kenya to Minnesota, to ensure really that those children have at least a chance to succeed. The organization, the African Development Center, we are a community economic development organization. We are about 10 years old. Tomorrow, as you are enjoying your lovely event, I hope you will have more than 300 people come to the event. We will be having our own gala. We would have been with you. Therefore, because we cannot be with you tomorrow night, we have decided to have this reception tonight on your behalf. So let me now tell you a little bit about the organization. We are a community economic development. What we do are 4 things. We do business development, that's business planning, lending, and technical assistance. We are the largest micro lender in the city of Minneapolis by far. And when I say the largest, it doesn't mean ethnic within the African or the Somali. It means even the mainstream organizations. And remember, we just came yesterday and we're only 10 years old. And we do more lending than they do in the city of Minneapolis. Thank you. Second, we also do first-time home buyer education in the United States. This is a great country. It's definitely not easy country, but it's a great country to build a wealth. That's one of the reasons we can help people from northern Kenya, from Somalia, from Djibouti, and from everywhere in between that the Somalis live. The reason we can help is because we have established ourselves in the state of Minnesota. So home ownership is huge. We also do first-time home buyer education. The head of the firm home ownership is Stephen Ray Wilson is here. If you put your hand up, Stephen is from Liberia. We also have the head of our business development unit and the chief financial officer of the organization, Nasibu Sereva is here, who is taking a picture. Nasibu is from Tanzania from the organization. We own this building, and we have a beautiful African art. It used to be a grocery store. Now it's our own building. We have owned since 2009. After the reception, I would love you to take a tour and see the rest of the building. We also partner with a lovely, one of the best small restaurants in the city of Minneapolis, Afro Deli and Coffee, and Kahin Abdurrahman, who is really a great partner, who is leading that effort this year tonight. Kahin over there. And we have the food, and for you, please don't forget to eat. I'm sure we cannot take it back. So yeah, thank you, Kahin, for being there. We also have 2 offices outside of the Twin Cities. Where you are at now, it's called Minneapolis and part of the Twin Cities. We have another office in Wilmer, Minnesota, and I asked Yusuf Ahmed, who is the head of the office, to be with us tonight, and Yusuf is up there, and thank you for being here, Yusuf. Wilmer is a very small community, and he drove all the way this afternoon to be with the community, to be with the minister, to be with the community delegation from Kenya. All the staff members, Rhoda, Nemo, and everybody else who really helped this reception. We are extremely grateful for all of your time. The media, Liban, Elias, my dear sister, Hindia is here, who is a great community organizer. All of you, Saeed Fahi is here. Really, as you know that no community can make it without organizations. And I can really tell you on a camera now, Saeed Fahi is the leader of the community. And we really, really appreciate his work for a long time on behalf of the Somali Minnesotans. Saeed, thank you very much for what you do. Now, welcome all of you. Sheikh Saad, thank you, all of you. We truly appreciate it. My remarks are very simple. I will welcome first Siad. He will take over to really lead the rest of the program. He knows the delegation, he knows the community. But let me just tell you 2 things why we are extremely, as Minnesotans, as Americans, as Africans, as specifically Somali Minnesotans, why we are truly excited about North Kenya. When we are growing up, I remember that we had a regime. It was a very tough regime. But one thing that it was good about, that we respect and I still love about, was that the regime said that it does not matter what Somali you are, as long as you are coming from a place that, from ethnic group Somali, whether you are Kenyan or of Ethiopia or Djibouti or Somaliland, you are welcome in Mogadishu or Kismayo. I remember that. And our goal really now, we survived the civil war. We are earning a living. We're raising children. The only thing we can do, Siad, is to support the North Kenyan community, anything and everything we have, so those children can go to the next level. No question about it. Second, Somalis and Somalia, especially proper Somalia, is going through a tough time. So the minister and the delegation of Kenya, when you go back, we will love you to look kindly to the Somalis who fled the civil war. They're struggling, truly struggling, and anything you can do to help their lives, especially the women and children, is greatly appreciated. And finally, about education, you all know that. It's all about education. And especially those of us, two things happened. Those of us who are from proper Somalia used to speak or other language, now we're catching up with English. So our friends from Kenya, they cannot tell anymore that we cannot speak English. So that is one thing. But the downside is we're losing our Somali. We will be just like them. So we'll be able to really, that's what you now we're becoming. We are truly honored. Siad, it's all yours. And thank you so much to have you out tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Once again, on behalf of, as my brother Hussein said, I want to welcome you on behalf of the Twin Cities African immigrant community. Truly, this event this evening tonight is a testament to true social capital in the community. Because when I came here about 3 weeks ago and had a quick cup of coffee with Hussein, we knew that we were on a deadline. We knew that we didn't have much time. And then we also found out that we were planning 2 great events on the same day. And we were able to come to a productive understanding that he would help us. And truly, Hussein, I want to thank you again sincerely from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to step up. Small ideas like this, such as the Northern Kenya Education Trust, with good intent and good people, can do great things. And again, Minnesota's African immigrant community, particularly the Somali community and the Somali diaspora, is the largest outside East Africa. And it's lovely to have our brothers and sisters who've come all the way from Kenya. And we want you to know that for those of us who are so-called Sijuis, that we do indeed have brethren on the other side of the border. And so this is, again, I want to really thank you once again, all the Somali diaspora folks who may not even have been to Kenya, who have come here. And again, this was a small gathering. It's a small gathering today by intent, not by accident. We wanted this to be a small reception for the community leaders, because tomorrow we'll have a large event that is going to bring people from 3 different cultures, the US, Kenya, and Somalia, because obviously the northern part of Kenya is indeed part of the Somali community, and we want to acknowledge that. With that said, I also want to acknowledge the delegation that's traveling here from Kenya, the trustees, those folks who are actually down on the ground, who are, as we say in America, where the rubber meets the road. They're actually in the trenches doing exactly what we're supporting. So again, as the head of the delegation, I want to thank Honorable Ilmi, who is the Cabinet Minister for Northern Kenya and Arid Lands. I want to formally recognize him and thank him and for putting this team together. I also want to thank all the other trustees who are present, from Abdul Wahid, who's here, who just arrived yesterday, from Amina, who's also here. And I will also give each one of the trustees who are here a chance to speak. I know the chairman, Ibrahim Hussein, who in fact some of you may not know, but is in fact an uncle of mine. So I also want to welcome him formally to the United States and thank him for all the work he's doing. Besides the trustees, we also have some government officials who are here. We have the permanent secretary, Lawrence Lenayapa, who's here. I want to formally recognize him. Thank you very much. We also have 2 members of parliament who are traveling with the Honorable Elmi, Honorable Sirat, who's a member for Wajir South. I want to formally recognize him. And we also have Honorable Joseph Lakuton from Leisamis, who's also here. Thank you. So, Mike, I'm going to turn over, before I turn over to Amina, and Amina being the only female trustee currently, because we're expecting Fatima Hersi to join us tomorrow, I felt that we should not have a very male-dominated agenda for the day. And yes. I figured that we'll have her first talk to us, but before she does that, we have Mama Adar Kahin, who many of you Minnesotans may recognize her beautiful face, is a former singer and a legend. Now she says she doesn't sing anymore. So she has a beautiful poem that she wants to share with us. So briefly, I'm gonna bring her up to the stage to do that, and then we'll hand it over to Amina. Now, there are some few people who really I need to thank. Quickly, the Language Bank team, Khadija, Scott, and several of folks, Kyle Yang, folks who may not be here, Kyle couldn't be here. They've put tons of hours into planning the event tomorrow, and particularly today. I also want to thank the African Development Center staff, that Roder and Matthew. Matt, I don't know if he's here. He's also been fantastic and very helpful to us. Some of the volunteers are here. I really want to thank them. The Noket team that's been helping organize some of the meetings. I really want to thank you. There's also one notable person I want to quickly mention. Brother Muhammad Idris, who's in the back there, is the executive director for Araha. Now, he would not be able to be with us tomorrow because he has to travel to Michigan for a board meeting for another organization, but Araha is going to be partnering with Noket, and that's something that we would be continuing to discuss. Araha is the American Relief Agency for Horn of Africa, and in fact, they're going to step up and do some sponsoring of kids in the future. So I really want to thank him for that. Now, without much further ado, this belongs to Adar Kahin now. Thank you. Welcome.
And Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, Mudanayali Marwoyin, brothers and sisters from Kenya. Welcome to Minnesota, welcome to America. We love you. Welcome, welcome. hadda gabayar oo Soomaaliya waa kalgacalkiiba waxa iga keenay markii Cadda iyo Xasan iyo Siyaad iyo ii sheegeen wafdi qaali oo la xaadlo oo madax sare ah oo classiga ba imanaya kalgacalkiiba wuxuu iga keenay midho yar oo gabaya baleeday inaan ku soo dhaweeyo anu gabayga ma sameeyo laakiin kalgacal ba iga keenay jacaylkiina iga keenay walaalaha Kiiniyow kadeedku markuu helay Soomaalidu kala lumeen kuwii naga kaafiye kurbada naga fayday ee kalgacal noo muujiye kama kuuji nagu furo waa isli kol badan shirar noo qabto inuu qarankeenu kol badan shirar noo qabto kolley 100 iyo 1 jeer abaalkiin ma koobi karo walaalaha Kiiniyow ahsanti sana. And welcome to Minnesota. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now would like to ask Amina Mohammed, who's one of the trustees and in fact one of the founding members of Noket, to come to the podium. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening. I want to first of all appreciate and show my excitement about being here today. I am so happy because I only thought you get this number of homely feeling sort of event only back at home. We've really been taken care of. We've been driven around. We've been welcomed. We have had great food. And I really want to appreciate your hospitality. We will surely come back. Thank you. We will surely come back. I want to appreciate specifically Siad and his team for facilitating us to be here. I also want to appreciate Samatar and his team for having us around today evening, and more so about Araha for the partnership we look forward to, and particularly for the Imam here and the team that has been with us, taking great time of their busy schedule to be with us today. So thank you, and thank you very much. We are quite at home, and we do appreciate that. I just want to mention slightly about where we come from and why we are here. In 2005, we realized that we were not actually getting women into the university. Reason, they were not coming out of primary schooling into good education. And therefore, when the government announced recruitment for nurses, teachers, and all other sort of professions, there were no women coming from northern Kenya. And we realized what could really have happened. And we realized that there was a problem about transition into secondary schooling. And it was because of that that we started the Girls Scholarship Program in 2006 with our first intake. I want to assure you, my colleagues and friends here, that actually the girls we take on the scholarship are not just girls from Kenya. I remember a case of a girl, Kauthar Hassan, who never reported to Mboni girls. And we traced, we called the DEO, where could Kauthar be? She was a bright kid, she was leading the class, and mashallah, she was Hafidat al-Quran. And she had passed me severally, telling me, you know, Auntie, I am not copying in this school. And I told her, Kauthar, just hang on in there. It's 4 years, it goes fast. Don't worry, even if you don't have a scarf. But one day when she did not report, I was told, where could Kauthar be? I called the government system back home, calling her former school. But apparently Kauthar was from deep Kismayo area. She studied in Kenya, and she had gone back to see her parents. And that's what I'm telling you. The kids in the scholarship, because they don't have any national identification, are kids from across the border and within Kenya. So you are quite welcome, because this is a scholarship that is beyond the borders because of the citizenry of the children that are on it. So you are at home, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to tell you this. Where we are now, I think we have come a long way. We have about 400 girls that have gone through the scholarship. We have about 260 of them still in school now. We have 8 girls in the university with a scholarship from USAID. We also have an alumni of girls who have been through the program that are giving back, counseling, and mentoring other girls. We do have a secretariat, and we have come together with very strong Noket Board of Trustees, renowned Kenyans. I don't know how many of you have heard of Tegla Lorupe. She's an international marathoner. She is a national, international stamp. Tegla Lorupe is a member of our board. We also have the minister who has, not just in his political career, but has been an Oxfam staff for the last, I don't know, he will tell you the number of years. So when I started working, I found him in Oxfam. So that has been a very long history. And briefly, what are our plans? We really need to raise money to educate more girls. It costs $1,000 to take one girl through secondary 1 year. It costs about $4,000 to take her through the best secondary school in Kenya that gives her 80% chance of going to university. As we speak, Northern Kenya has only 1% of university students nationally. 1%. That tells you we are a population that has nobody in higher education. And for women, you and I know the returns of education. It makes you make decisions at home. It's not just a job incoming opportunity. It makes you marry late, therefore delaying your chance of getting children. If you marry a bit late and you get your children when you're a bit mature, your chances of maternal mortality really go down. In northern Kenya, at the moment, we have nationally we have 488 women dying because of childbirth out of every 100,000 women. In northern Kenya, the number is double. We have 1,000 women losing their life every year out of 100,000 deliveries. That has to do with the time you get a child. That has to do with the time you get to hospital. That has to do on how important you think hospital care is for you. And all this is only open if you understand the value of your life and you're actually educated. In terms of voting and democratic change, you know the importance of voting. It's women who vote. The members of parliament here know. If we don't come out to vote, they don't have seats. My husband included, they know if the women don't come out to vote, then they have no votes. But their vote is decided by other people. If they were educated enough, they would know who to vote for. And they would demand for their rights. They would be able to bargain. And this is not possible if the population is not educated. In Northeastern Province, we only have 4% of women literate. 96% of women in Northern Kenya are illiterate, adults. And that is truly alarming in this time of the year. So we thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be with you. We look forward to a very fruitful dinner tomorrow, and we will ever be talking about you because this is our first international launch of Noket. It has gone beyond borders. So thank you, and thank you. My message is I do hope that you're also educating your children here, because our children work very hard to come here to learn and pay exorbitant fees. But I do hope that the community here is also sending their children to school, because you can be anywhere, but without education, really you don't go far. It has implications on your family, generations to come. So thank you very much, and I do appreciate this. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Amina. One of the things that Amina touched on is the fact that we are enormously blessed to be living here. In fact, this is one of the things that most immigrants take for granted, is the access to quality education. And sometimes you may not appreciate things when they are readily available to you. So I guess it's a warning to all of us who are in the diaspora and our families to make sure that we take advantage of such opportunities. It gives me an enormous pleasure to invite the next person to address us. Imam Saad addressed him as the father of education, which truly is true, because many people in this room were either students of his or the teachers of his students, and he may have taught their teachers. So Chairman Ibrahim Hussein is a renowned Kenyan educator, just recently retired from the Teacher Service Commission chairmanship, which in terms of equivalency, I don't know in the US what to equate that to. It's the person who is in charge of all the teachers, and we have a federal government system here in where Minnesota does its own thing and other states. But I guess it's probably something like the State Department's Minnesota Educator Chairman. Now, he has stood the test of time. He has devoted his time and his energy to particularly those of us who are from Northeastern Province. And he may have even been responsible directly or indirectly for many of us to be even in this country. So I really want to thank him and bring him to on the podium to address us. Thank you.
Thank you, my son, Siad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay. Honorable Minister Mohammed Elmi, Honorable Joseph Lecoton, MP for Laisamis, Permanent Secretary Minister of Northern Kenya and other arid lands, Mr. Lawrence Lanayapa, Mheshimiwa Sirad, MP for Wajir South, other members of the Board of Trustees, friends of Noket, ladies and gentlemen, I am sure the Honorable Minister will have time to introduce the other members of the Board of Trustees, but want to say that we really feel very much at home. We are learning on a learning journey. What has impressed us most since our arrival is the team spirit that you have had together. Despite your backgrounds and coming from various regions, you have shown us that you are working together. That teamwork is very impressive. It is not only a teamwork, but people who are really focused, people who know what they want. And I think that has given us a lot of encouragement. We are on a learning mission, and definitely when we go back home, we would try and find out what we can also do as a team. Ladies and gentlemen, education is for all. It is compulsory for every man and women. And I think for many years in the Somali community or people in the northern Kenya did not take education seriously, particularly girls' education. I want to remind you of the old saying that when you educate a boy, you're only educating an individual. But when you educate a girl, you are educating a family. And I'm glad my sister Amina has told you the advantages of an educated mother, because then that family, that home would be very successful in life. Just want to tell you, for example, education in northern Kenya, particularly in the area where the Somalis live, it started in 1948. In other parts of the country, David Siele will remember, and others, education started 1900 or even much earlier. And this was done by the missionaries. But for us, we also had to look for Islamic missionaries from neighboring countries. And I remember our first teachers were coming from Zanzibar. And that's how we went to school. Despite that late starting of education in northern Kenya, the government has tried. We have now a very reasonable number of both primary and high schools. Amina has just told you that one big challenge was, where are these girls? Why are these girls not performing well? And they were not performing well, not because they are not intelligent enough, but the environment around them was very challenging. You all know girls have many challenges. I am not saying the boys don't, but they have complicated issues with them. And we are grateful to Amina through UNICEF, because this is the lady that really came up with the idea of these girls going to national schools or good provincial schools. And I'm sure if Amina did not go to school, she would not have cared at all. By the way, I want to tell you, if you didn't know, she's also the wife of Mheshimiwa Abdikadir, the Member of Parliament for Mandera Central. So you can see the interest. So we want to thank her. The Kenya government has done a lot. Girls are encouraged to go to schools, and there are specific programs. For example, the Ministry of Education granted special assistance in building laboratories, giving them special programs like feeding program in schools. We even went a little bit further, because the society, the community who live in the northern Kenya are by nature nomadic. And therefore, boarding schools have been introduced. And those who cannot even come to the boarding schools, there is what is called the nomadic education policy, which encourages people to go even for mobile schools. One person who has come from the Ministry of Education and who is in charge of that program is Mr. Hubbard, here with us in the delegation. So you can see every effort is being made to encourage children to go to school. What has brought us here? We have come here to ask for help. Of course, we know charity begins at home. And the Honorable Minister and his Permanent Secretary are already planning, in partnership with the Board of Trustees, to launch a program or a fundraising program so that these girls do not drop out of schools because of lack of fees. What is even more encouraging is that we are now starting it here. Before we have even started it in Nairobi, in Kenya, we are starting here. And I think Minnesota would be friend number one of the Noket Trust Fund, because this is where everything has actually started. So we want to thank Siad Abdullahi and everybody else for giving us the courage, for telling us, however little it is, you have friends, please come So we want to thank you very sincerely. We want to thank our minister, because when the government was formed the last election, the government decided to have a ministry for northern Kenya and other arid lands, other dry areas. And the minister and the permanent secretary have worked very hard, and this is one out of the many projects that they have initiated. We are also grateful the members of parliament who have accompanied him for the support they have given. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to stop because the head of the delegation is here to talk, and we do not want to touch a lot of other things. But sincerely, we are grateful. I am really impressed and very happy. I even found some of my old students here. So I feel very much at home. We also want to thank our religious leader for having given religious guidance, because what is education again without fearing God? That is the basis. So Imam, we say thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are hoping for more hospitality. We have already had enough. And I am sure this mission will be successful. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
In fact, he has a very large constituency of Minnesotans, or people who live in Minnesota. So Honorable Sirat has been very busy since he came. In fact, today he traveled to a small town called St. Cloud, Minnesota, which is an hour or so, about 2 hours from here. And we're very happy to have him in Minnesota. We've been, as you can see, people are nostalgic for home. So I want to welcome Honorable Sirat Mohammed to the podium. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. As you have been told, one of the youngest, not the youngest really, Yusuf is much younger than me, Yusuf Kamakunji. But it's true, I've been going rounds yesterday, today, I did not sleep much. I was trying to bring as many people as possible to tomorrow's fundraising. I'm in a competition with Muhammad Ilmi, my colleague from Wajir. Thank you very much. Noket is Northern Kenya. Northern Kenya does not mean only Northeastern. It means Turkana, Masai Land, Marsabit, Moyale, Isiolo. It's arid and semi-arid. Basically Northeastern and arid and semi-arid. I think 24 counties, I think, if I'm right. 23 counties. We are going to do fundraising for all those ladies from those 23 counties. And inshallah, we hope to succeed in this. You should be very happy that we're starting off with Minnesota. And I anticipate once we start rolling the ball from Minnesota, then the onus will be on you to roll it to other states in the US. We'll be going to Europe, Australia, and other places, but we'll leave US with you. I'm really encouraged by the presence, the organization of this fundraising, and I hope the ambassador is around. I've not seen the ambassador. And I hope, I'm told Kalonzo Musyoka will be here. When he comes, if I will not be with him, then I'll ask you to ask him to have a branch of the Kenyan embassy in Minnesota. So that it can help you, it can help the government of Kenya, it can help Noket. I won't say much. I will now give it back to the organizing chairman. And thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Sirat. Just like Mheshimiwa said, Noket does not cover only Northeastern province. It has constituencies that are larger. And in fact, Noket primarily serves or assists students that are in the 12 least performing counties in Kenya. And some of the data that the minister shared with me at the beginning when we were putting this together is really staggering. If you tell this to any American or anyone who lives here, some of the enrollment in some of the Noket counties of the is at 25%, and the national level is at 95 or 90% or greater. So there's a significant disparity in the rest of Kenya and the places where our communities live. Now, Honorable Lekuton is the Member of Parliament for Leisamis. Some of you who know the country pretty well may know where that is. It gives me enormous pleasure to invite him to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Siat, Minister for Northern Kenya, Permanent Secretary Lenayapa, Honorable Sirat, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? As they said, my name is Lekuton. I represent Leisamis constituency. And I'm very privileged to be part of this delegation that comes from Kenya. I lived in America for 15 years, personally. I went to school in upstate New York, St. Lawrence, and then I did my master's at Harvard in Boston. And I know how much education means. And personally, when I was in the States, we had an organization called Kenya Nomadic Education Fund, which sponsored over 1,000 students to go to high school. And personally, just because I got a chance to get an education, I also worked very hard when I was in the States, and even now, to award about 15 full scholarships to students from Leisamis constituency to study in America today. Some of them are in the World Bank today, some are doing their PhDs. So I think together, we can do marvelous for the North. Because as you understand, we were left behind for many years. And this is just the time, this is the first time we're getting a generation of leaders from the northern part of Kenya who are coming out to say, look, we have to make sure that the students, the younger kids who are behind us, especially girls, get an opportunity. Although we struggle ourselves, but this is the time, let's give it back. And I'm also extremely impressed by the Somali community from Somalia who have come to be part of this success. So we just want to let you know that even as a country, in Kenya as a nation, we do appreciate the support you've given our minister, our members of parliament, our PS, and that together, for me, I'm sure, in the next 20 years, you might be surprised that the leaders of Kenya will be from northern Kenya. So, and I'm sure we still have a lot of people who are going to speak. Personally, I just like to be very grateful to the minister and his permanent secretary to ask me to join them. And for those of you who have come today, God bless, and I thank you very much. I've been asked to introduce, I guess, the guest of honor, or the leader of delegation from the Kenyan government, a very humble man. I always told him, man, how do you cope with the politics? You, how do you cope with politics when you are so quiet? And some of us, our mouths are this far in order to defend our seats. But I guess he has a special gift that's God-given. And that's why he was given a chance by the government of Kenya to be the minister of Northern Kenya with his great experience. So please, let's get hands together to welcome our minister, Honorable Elmi.
Thank you very much, Lekuton. I think I want to just say very few things and maybe really put the idea of Noket in perspective. But first, I want to assure Hussein Samata and my sister, that Kenya, we used to say, Nairobi or Kenya is the second home of the Somalis. These days we say it's the first home because a lot of them come to Kenya when they want to go and do things. So people came 20, 15 years ago. The other day when Mogadishu stabilized a bit, they started go there to buy houses, but they still run the business out of Nairobi. So, but I can assure you also, the East Africans are really keen to have Somalia stable and to join East Africa. So then the people who have spread all over East Africa do not have to have problems. So they can join the single passport and all that. So the love that others talked about, we also hold for the people of Somalia. I just want to say a little bit about Noket and what we are trying to achieve. Look at that paper there. You'll see on top of the logo is the map of Kenya. And you'll see the bit which is different color, which is very small. That is what is not part of the program. The rest of it is part of it. But you know, the 80% of the population is in that small strip. People settle along the railway line when the British developed the railway line. It's called 50 kilometers either side. The rest, what do they share in common? Why this the southern part is 2 counties of the southern rangeland, largely inhabited by nomadic pastoralists, and the rest are also nomadic pastoralists of different types of communities. The northeast is where the Somalis are, but the rest are. What they have in common is basically inequality in terms of education, healthcare, and a lot of other things. What Noket is trying to do is basically establish a trust fund that is largely private, run by eminent people of Kenya, but both the Ministry of Education and my ministry are the 2 permanent secretaries sit on the board, because there is government support which will go into it, so the government fully supports. But basically what we wanted is a fund that can raise the quality of education in those areas. Initially, we want to start with scholarships, and particularly for women. And this time, what Amina had described was a UNICEF program that as part of the exit, they made it to be part of Noket. So apart from secondary school, we want to go to tertiary. Schools for nurses, for teachers, and university. And why are we targeting women first? We believe in the saying that if you educate a man, you educate one person. If you educate a woman, you educate the community, the nation. In fact, for the Muslims, that's a saying of the Prophet, and those who believe, United Nations also use it as their logo. So really that's our aim. How did we end up in Minnesota? Our current ambassador, before he became an ambassador, was part of the idea of putting this together. He actually wrote the initial concept paper. So recently I visited, and he said we had launched it there, and we had the initial, although we haven't done the public fundraising, individuals like Imperial Bank came through UNICEF, and we're getting some funding going. But he said, you have such a big diaspora here. Why don't you have it registered here and, have a support from the diaspora? And then, who do we think about? SEAT. And I'm happy now we have Noket USA that is registered and that we are going to partner with. So what we're looking for is not a one-off, Arambe, as we call it in Kenya, but basically we're looking for long-term partnership. We're looking for people to donate ideas, to donate time, and also to partner with those students. So what we're looking for is not only money, it's a long-term partnership that says education is important. What we hope to do is raise enough money, put it in an endowment so that every year we're able to support quite a number of those areas until they're at par with the rest of the country, and then actually start looking at quality even at a lower level. What is it? So we're here. Tomorrow we'll make a PowerPoint presentation. We'll give you enough details and more details. But I must say we are very thankful for all the Noket USA, all the community here, and in this particular time, ADC, for hosting us for this reception. We're quite impressed by the level of organization, level of the warmth that we have received, and I'm sure we'll build a long-term partnership and making sure Noket becomes true. What I like about Noket and the idea that we built now for some time, it's going to be about people. It's going to be about people sharing ideas. So it's not about, we're helping those poor people. It's going to be and engagement with those students. So before I finish, I think there are some people who in our delegation who have not been introduced. Patrick is the coordinator of the trust. He's the first employee of the trust who is doing the coordination. I hope eventually it will grow. David Siele there is a director of what we call human capital, education and health in the ministry. I think the rest were, Hubbard has been introduced. He is representing the permanent secretary, Ministry of Education. My permanent secretary has been introduced. Who has not been introduced? Abdi Wahid is a lawyer. He does all the trust things pro bono. He registered it, he did everything. Who is missing? Who has not talked? Yes, yes, I say that, and he's been introduced. Yes, permanent secretary. So that, as a ministry, we are quite committed to making sure this works. We deliberately set it outside, government, so that the accountability and everything is available. But also, I do believe the non-profit sector, even in the most developed world, is necessary. Even when Kenya government will put enough money to do this. Because when you are engaged in non-profit activities, it also enriches you. It is where you show your humanity. And therefore, we're quite committed to making sure this works. I think I've talked too much. Thank you very much to everybody.